Has it been slow in your practice this summer, or maybe this month tends to be a slow month for you, and you would like to get ahead of that? So, because you've been experiencing a dip in your practice or concerned about it being slow typically this time of the year. So, today I'm going to share with you three hot tips to boost your practice in the summer. This is Chen Yen, 6 and 7 figure practice makeover mentor, an introverted visionary, where we help introverted visionary acupuncturists and other holistic health practitioners with growing their practices to be really fulfilling and consistent as well. So that way they could just focus on helping people instead of, and also changing the face of our healthcare system instead of worrying about where to find patients. And then for our clients who are at a stage of practice where they're already busy, then we help them get to a place where the practice runs more without them or bring in another stream of income. So I'm your host for the AAC show today, and I'm super excited to share with you these three hot tips. So what have you noticed is when people just end up not coming in, right? What could you actually do? So the first hot tip is to send out an email that or more than just one email. So because have you ever had the experience of where even some of your patients come in for one thing but they don't even realize you can help them with other things? So how could you educate your patients on how you can help them with different kinds of health issues, or perhaps you have other kinds of service offerings within the practice that they may not really know about or be as aware of? And so how can you educate them more about those other offerings, or how acupuncture or Chinese medicine can help with certain health issues? So what do you actually come up with to send? And many times what I often hear from a lot of acupuncturists is, well, I end up racking my brain, or I feel like I don't really have time to come up with things, and or I'm I don't have any email software thing, so then I just don't do it, right? Because that's just ends up getting tables as a on the back burner and never ends up getting done. But if you are slower in your practice, or if you would just love to have something automated, because imagine if whenever you were slow you just had certain emails that were automated, that you could end up using to educate your patients or potential patients, perhaps those who have inquired about your services but then they didn't end up coming in. And I'll share a little hot tip related to that, like how do you actually get their email address, right? I'll share that with you here in a moment. So, as far as the email that you send out, a couple of hot tips related to what to think about with what to send out that I'm going to share with you from our new patients from email system that our clients use is that, one, ideally vary the length of whatever you send out. Have you ever felt like, oh my gosh, I get so many emails? And do you ever notice that you don't open every single one of them? But if they are your patients, likely they will open, like you'll have a decent kind of an open rate because you're their practitioner, you're your a healthcare provider for them. It's very different than them just getting some random, kinds of emails from all kinds of different things. So first of all, your emails are more likely to be open anyway. But just because there are a lot of people who get a lot of emails, how could you end up being an email that people look forward to getting? So one hot tip is to vary the length of your email. So sometimes super, super short, it might just be a couple sentences. So one type of email you could look at sending might be a very more personal-ish feel kind of an email. And um, and checking in on how things are going for them and with their what they had come in for from before, and then bring up that whether it's time to schedule and another visit, or in case they come across someone that they um, who's dealing with XYZ kind of health issues, then in case they come across one or two people who are dealing with XYZ kind of health issues, feel free to also share with them, to let them know about the practice. So that's one kind of an email you could look at sending to help increase patient flow into the practice. Another kind of an email you could consider sending is what I talked about earlier, which is specific to a health issue. And so maybe one email you talk about a certain like digestive kinds of issues, or another email you talk about a different kind of pain issue like injury. And some people may not realize the extent of how acupuncture can help with other things like when there might be first aid type of uh, um, trauma related things happening, or um, or maybe supporting with pregnancy. Some people may not know about those things, and yet you might help them with that. So think about the different topics that you can educate your patients on. And then, so that's one hot tip is sending out emails. And I promise to share with you what to do to also be getting emails of people who maybe call your practice, but then they never end up booking. So what happens with those people, right? Because maybe they call and they ask around, and then they decide to do something else, but something else might change down the road, and they could have a need for your services. And again, so it's, if you're able to stay more top of mind awareness and continue to educate them until they understand the benefits of working with you, and also see if they resonate with you or not, then they're more likely to come in. So one thing that you can do is, before every single person who calls and doesn't end up booking, before hang up the phone with them, to say something like, well, let me send you something that can be of help to you, and with your XYZ health issue. And ideally, if you had a good way of navigating the conversation with them, whether you're having it yourself or your front desk person is having that conversation, then you would have found out what they might be dealing with that made them decide to call you in the first place. So that way you can end up staying connected and send them something that could be helpful for their issue right now. And then you could end up, asking for permission to continue to keep them in the loop about updates within the clinic, or other helpful tips related to different kinds of health issues they or their family might encounter. So the second hot tip to giving your practice a boost when it's slow in the summer is to think about, how can you communicate why now is an important time to come into the practice. So one reason why people may not be coming in is they go on vacation, they fall off the bandwagon, or they just are feeling, maybe they're feeling fine, and maybe feeling fine is okay for them to not come into your practice if that's a part of your philosophy. But maybe what you're treating them for, maybe they're feeling fine, but they're not making as much progress with the core health issues they're having if they're not getting consistent treatment or care. So how can you convey and communicate to them why now is an important time, and to come in to get that taken care of, whether it's from a clinical perspective or um, overall with it, well, it should be from a clinical perspective anyway, right? So, and something to think about with this is, have you ever thought about how retail stores, they often have these different sales throughout the whole year? Next time you see maybe a brand that you love, and you end up buying things from them, notice how often they do sales, and what times of the year they do sales, and what do they say about why they have the sales, right? So there are all kinds of different holidays, and all of a sudden every those kinds of places end up having sales. And why do people buy? Because those stores or companies are mentioning why now is a great time to buy, because you're going to be getting a significant savings, or because it's Mother's Day, and it's a great time to buy a gift for your mom, or it's for upcoming, it might be Labor Day, and it's time to really give yourself a um, breather, and reset as you get into the fall, right? And it's a great time to come in for acupuncture, and also bring your family for to get them back in the swing of things, or back to school. So there's so many things that you could think about why now is a great time to come in. So think about that and communicate that in an effective way so that people are present to how important it is to come in now, or are inspired to come in. So one for clinical reasons, another could be also for stress relaxation and resetting, or helping with other things tied into the season. So, one of our clients actually brought in 5 figures in a month from, supplement herb sales, and um, like being strategic about how he was doing that sale. So, and that can happen when, if you would love to share more about something you offer within the practice, and also experience a boost in the practice. And part of what worked well for him was highlighting why now is a good time to be getting those supplements or herbs. So the third and another thing, I'll just give you a tip that you could use right away as well, is that if you're experiencing a slow week or slow day, one thing you can do is to either post this up in your social media, or email it to, or text your patients something about how you've got a few open spots on X such date and such date. So you might say a few spots. I have a few openings on Thursday and on Friday, and you could give a couple spots. You can say, I have a couple spots opened up for Thursday and Friday, such and such day and times. You can give a couple of those times. And if you wanted to come in today, give me a call and I can work you in, right? So then that way it presences people to the idea that you do have open spots. Because have you ever had patients who have told someone else, they told you, oh, I told someone else about you, but then that person didn't come in yet? Well, sometimes it takes more than one time letting their friend know, or someone they care about know about your services. Because have you ever been to have you ever had the experience of where a friend told you about a restaurant? They were all excited about it, and you thought, oh, wow, I should check that out. But what did you do? Maybe you didn't check it out quite yet, right? But then your friend brought it up again, and then you ended up going. Or you heard about it another time, and then you ended up going. So that can totally happen, even if you have been told by your patients that they've referred, but then that person hasn't come in yet. They could still totally come in, right? So if you are letting your patients know about open spots, you could also bring up how they could let if they or a friend of theirs had wanted to come in, they can come in, right? And so that can also remind them of how they could mention it to their friend again, and that you have spots this week. So that has also helped our clients, our acupuncturist clients and other holistic health practitioners clients, with getting more patients coming in the door when it's slow. A third hot tip to boost your practice when it's slow in the summer is to be clearing out the non-supportive belief that, oh, this time tends to be slow for me. And this is something that I often hear from acupuncturists and other holistic health practitioners, is that comment. It's like, well, August tends to be slow for me. Everyone goes on vacation, and so in my first business, the one I had grown to 7 figures in less than 5 years. So I remember someone on my team. So she had owned her own business in the same field that my business was in, for over 20 years. And she would always say to me, December is usually really slow because everyone goes on vacation. And I remember saying to her one year, I said, what if December was our busiest month? And what if other people who think that it's really slow, like what if we actually ended up helping those people who weren't able to be helped by other people because they've they had this mindset that it's going to be a slow month. Let's help those people. So shifting that belief. And what happened that year, we had our biggest month in December. So just because other people are having slow months doesn't mean that you need to have a slow month either. So um, part of it is energetically your underlying belief about what you um, what's possible for you and what's possible for other people as well. So other people can be slow, and you could be the busiest you've ever been this month. So I hope these 3 hot tips have helped you. And for more 6 and 7 figure practice makeover tips, go to introvertedvisionary.com and start putting in place just even one of these hot tips within the practice. I shared with you several possibilities, and you can even just one thing put in place well can bring in a boost in your practice, even when it's slow. So, till next time.